Okay, got a good group of folks on here today. Thanks for joining us again. I'll try to make this quick and painless as possible here. Today we're going to dig down into the core of the VMSG dashboard, which is operational planning. Operational planning obviously fits into the dashboard, but it's a kind of a separate skill set by itself. So at the end of today, we're going to assign you a little bit of homework, which is just to create a very simple little operational plan in the system. The nice thing is we had a whole group of folks went through this last year, and there's a whole bunch of little plans in there. And a lot of people just make them fun things. I'm going to plan a trip, or I'm going to plan a wedding, or something like that. It doesn't have to be very detailed, but there's some in there that you can take a look at, maybe get some ideas from. But everybody's going to do their homework, and our next session will be reviewing your homework. And then when we're done with that, we're going to send you all out these nice certificates to hang on your wall about operational planning being kind of a workforce development skill set here. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll go past the horse again today. First thing I just like to do is kind of review the planning model here. So the planning pyramid goes back many years. It's kind of the industry standard operational planning model. The organization is your health department. Underneath that is the structure of your health department. So the divisions, the offices, the programs, and the primary plans, what FAB calls the six pack of plans, are typically individual groups because they're very high level plans. Each group then has its own set of services and or initiatives, services being ongoing, initiatives being future programs. Each of those has a set of high level goals, each high level goal, a set of smart objectives, and each smart objective, a set of activities. So now, like I mentioned, this is kind of the most common nomenclature for an operational plan. However, it's not cast in concrete. You're going to look around and somebody's going to give you an operational plan, and it's going to be in the same format, but the names are going to be different. So what I want to do is just share some of the ones that we've seen over time. That's, again, the same planning model, but different nomenclature in there. So let's take a look at some of those here. Here's our first one, where we call services or initiatives, they call strategic priorities. Very common, obviously, in your strategic plan. And then goals underneath that, where we call goals. What we call objectives, they call strategies. I'm not really sold on that one, because to me, strategies are how we're going to get to an objective. So if we flip the objectives and the strategies there, I think it would be better. But again, I didn't make that model. Strategic areas is a pretty good definition of what services initiatives are. Goals, outcome objectives. I like that because the objective is what outcome are we trying to achieve, and then strategies to get to the outcome objective. So that's a pretty good model. Priorities, goals, objectives, and action steps. I think we even talked about this a little bit. Action steps is a real good name for activities because it is, in fact, the steps you're going to go through to get to the objective. Priority areas, goals, again, strategies kind of in the wrong place, and then action steps. Priorities, goals, objectives, and strategies is a good one. Strategies at the top, not sold again. Strategies, strategic objectives, that's pretty good because it's a higher level than the objective. So that's what the goals are, and then objectives and action steps. So the primary reason I show you this is at some point in time, somebody's going to walk up to you and say, here's a plan, put it in the VMSG dashboard. And you're going to look at the nomenclature and it's not going to match. So you can kind of just look at after today, you'll be able to look at the structure of the plan and get a really good idea of how it fits into the dashboard here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through that pyramid one layer at a time, and we're going to go through and use some real live examples of what is a group, what is a service or initiative, what is a goal. And these are all examples from public health plans that we've collected over the years here. So let's start out with groups. Again, groups are hierarchical, so it's the structure of your health department. Typically, the level 1 group, they go level 1 to 10, which nobody's ever gotten past 5 or 6. So your department is typically your level 1 group. So everything is going to report up eventually to your department. Let's say we have a community health division. Community health division would be a level 2 with its parent group, we call it, being the department. So it's a level down below the department, but it reports up to the department. And let's assume that WIC reports to community health, which reports to the department. So it's a level 3 group. Its parent group is community health reporting to the department. Now, these things can be moved around in the dashboard very easily, and we'll work with your org admin users to be able to do that. But basically what you're going to do, if I wanted to move WIC up to the department versus under community health, is all I have to do is change the level to a 2, and then change what we call the parent group, which is a little drop down, to department versus community health. And when I save it, it's going to move WIC up to under the department. It'll stay in the same relative place because it's alphabetical, but it'll be moved up a level to level 2 here. Your strategic plan is typically a level 2 group reporting to the department. Your community health improvement plan, same thing. So these are the high level plans, again, reporting at the department level. Today, we're going to go back to the tobacco example. So tobacco 2025 will be a level 2 group reporting up to the department. In our case, it's going to be reporting to the training group that we have in the system here. So that's your groups. Again, it's just a hierarchical structure of the department plus the primary plans. Services and initiatives. I like to call these buckets or containers. So it's a place we're going to put a bunch of plans that'll get us to this end. And here's some of the services or initiatives, again, from plans across the nation here. Healthy moms and babies. Readiness for emerging health threats. Effective agency processes. Access to care. Behavioral health and substance abuse. Population health. Organizational excellence. Chronic disease prevention and control. Health disparities. And again, we're going to use the tobacco cessation example in here. So again, these are a place to put plans that'll get us to this end here. Goals. Goals are typically very high level, typically very simplistic. Again, an action verb followed by a few words defining overall what we're trying to accomplish without getting into the details. So here's some goals. Reduce the risk of infectious disease. Promote safe and sanitary food establishments. Support communities in building resiliency. Enhance healthcare through technology. Drive health in all policy agendas. Reduce the risk of vaccine preventable diseases. Promote public health readiness and response. Promote succession planning and career growth. Integrate a data-driven best practices approach. And again, our smoking example, reduce smoking in high schools. So again, as we talked about the other day, when I tell you we're going to reduce smoking in high schools, that makes sense to everybody. It's really pretty easy to understand what they're doing. What it doesn't tell you is, where are we going to start? How much are we going to be able to reduce smoking? By when are we planning on doing this? So that's when we get down to the next level, what we call the SMART objectives. And again, our nomenclature is pretty simple: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic or relevant, going to take your choice there, and time-based. So now if it's not attainable or not realistic or not relevant, don't waste your time. Focus on specific, measurable, and time-based. So here's some examples. By December 2025, identify 2 or more strategies to collaboratively reduce risky alcohol-related behaviors. By December 2025, 80% of educators and school staff have been exposed to adverse child experiences, ACE awareness education. So if you take each of these, you can say, okay, the timeline is by December 2025, obviously. The specific is in the top one, strategies to collaboratively reduce risky alcohol-related behaviors, and our measurement is 2 or more. So they meet the criteria pretty well. By June of 2025, provide 6 training opportunities for first responders who work with individuals in a mental health crisis. By the end of 4th quarter, all programs will have established goals, objectives, and activities to be reported on in the VMSG dashboard. And then we're going to use the example again of reduce smoking at Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year. Now, when we get down to this level, we have a specific target. Reduce smoking at Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year is very, very specific. What it doesn't tell you at all is how are we going to get there? And that's what the activities are all about. Now, if you recall, we have 3 distinct types of activities. Project-based is by far the most common. Here's an example. Create training content and materials for students and faculty on the dangers of smoking. So in this particular activity, we're going to create our PowerPoints and our videos and our user guides and whatever we need to actually go out and do the training. Now, every activity has got a performance measure. Only in the project-based activity do you completely come up with this performance measure. Very simplistic. What we're saying is, how do I know when I've successfully completed the activity? So in this case, once the training content materials have been created, the activity is complete. We're going to say when, so we're going to say a beginning and ending date at this point. And by the way, these dates are movable as you go around and real life happens. We're going to assign team members, potentially assign external partners, and we're going to have a metric. And our metric in this case is percent complete, 0 to 100%. Now, there's several different options on these that I'm going to show you when we actually enter this into the system here. So you'll be able to see the different variations in here. So that's our project-based activity. Probably, I don't know, 85% of what you put in the system will be project-based activities. The least common type of activity used in the system is the quality assurance activity. The reason for that is that it's always got to be something that's replicable, that's moving along. In this case, provide 9 training sessions each month. So the month is the frequency. How often are we repeating this on the dangers of smoking to students and faculty? And the other thing that this particular activity does, the project-based activity only sets the traffic light automatically when you get to 100%. It sets it to gold. In this case, it sets the green, yellow, and red based on values you provide. So we're saying if we set the target of 9, which is what our target is in the activity here, we're going to call that green. And then we're going to pick a red value, whatever you want it to be, whatever just doesn't make sense to you, is that's not good enough. So we're going to say 6. So in this case, if it's 9 or more, it's going to set the light to green. If it's 6 or less, it's going to set it to red. And then you can imagine in between 7 or 8 would be yellow. Instead of a beginning and ending date, we're going to have a cycle start date. So we have the frequency of monthly here. So we're going to have a cycle start date of, in this case, February 1, and the frequency is going to be monthly. So it's going to automatically calculate the end date in this particular one to be February 28th. And then as you enter this activity and you move on, it's going to ask you to move forward by another month. So it'll go to March 1 and set the end date as the end of March here. The performance measure is kind of halfway created for you in this case. Training sessions provided, measured monthly, green, yellow, and red. And then team and partner assignments. And our metric, as you can imagine, is how many training sessions do we do? So that's the QA activity. And again, it's really great when you need something that's going on and on and on any frequency based, between weekly and every 5 years is what the range is. And I'll show you that in a minute here. So that's our QA activity. The quantitative measurement activity is very, very similar to the project-based activity and the second most used. Contact all 20 tobacco vendors within 1 mile of Wayne High School to ensure they're not selling to minors. The difference between this and a project-based activity is having a target quantity. And all that does is help you to calculate where am I. So if we set the target quantity of 20, as you can see up in there, and we get to 10, it's going to say we're 50% there. So pretty simple. It's going to have beginning and ending dates, just like the project-based activity. Our performance measure, again, is kind of halfway created for you, and I'll show you that. 20 tobacco vendors contacted between January 1 and June 30th. And then again, team and partner assignments, and our metric, as you can imagine, is how many tobacco vendors did we contact. So those are the 3 types of activities and 3 example activities we're going to use. Now, at the bottom of each page that I just showed you was the blue, tobacco program thing. So what I'm going to do is put all that together in kind of a bullet form so you can see the segment of the plan that is created here. So the group is tobacco programs for 2025. The initiative we selected was tobacco cessation. The goal was to reduce smoking in high schools. One of the objectives was reduce smoking at Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year. And then we had the 3 activities: create the training content, provide the training sessions, contact the tobacco vendors. Now, this is what we call a segment of a plan. Plans can replicate at any level. So I can have multiple groups and subgroups. I can extend my plans across those groups. That's not real common. Usually a plan is within a group. I can also have multiple services or initiatives. So tobacco cessation just made me one of the issues, keeping people from beginning to smoke and that sort of thing, or other potential services. Our goal, reduce smoking in high schools. We could have reduced smoking in a lot of places. For instance, we might have another goal of reduce smoking in colleges. Now, underneath that, then we're going to have the objective in the activities. In this case, Our objective might be reduce smoking at good old Wright State University by 25% by the end of the school year. And then you can imagine underneath that, we'd have similar activities to get us there. So these plans can replicate. And if you get a really big plan, like a strategic plan, it can have lots and lots of replications and literally up to hundreds of activities in the plan here. So this is the example plan. Now, this is a template, and it's attached to the meeting invite that you guys got, a blank version of this template. It was actually created by one of our health departments in Wisconsin, and they created it when they first started implementing the system. And the reason was people weren't at that point yet comfortable in going in and entering into the system. Plus, they wanted to be able to talk to their peers. So they built it into this. It's a Word document with a bunch of tables in it. And they built it into this template first. And then after everybody agreed, yeah, this is what we want, then we went and basically copied and pasted it in the system. The other value that it gives you is you don't have to sit and watch me type for the next half hour because I can copy and paste this stuff in. And one of the other nice things that they included in there is a definition, a real quick definition of each level. So my service or initiative, what bucket of work or priority does this relate to? That's pretty good. Tobacco cessation. Our goals. What is your, I don't know if I like pie in the sky, but what's your high level goal? Reduce smoking in high schools. Our SMART objectives, specifically, what and when do you hope to accomplish? Our objective lead is a person, so who will lead the charge? Our activities, what are the steps you will do to accomplish the objective? Performance metric is how will I know when I've successfully completed the activity? And then our activity leads and team will be who's primarily responsible to do and update this activity. So this is just kind of a nice way to create a plan, and you can take and copy and paste these tables into multiple pages if you want to build out a larger plan. This is not by any means required to use. It's just an example that you could use if you wanted to get started on planning here. So what I'm actually going to do now is I'm going to take and enter this plan into the system here. So I'm going to go to the real Word document. So this is the Word document of the plan. And again, it's just a bunch of Word tables in here. So the first thing I'm going to do is go back to my here. So I'm in my training group, and then under training, you see we have Tobacco 2025. I'm going to go to my Services and Initiatives tab, and you can see we've done this before. I just updated it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is add a new service or initiatives plus here. It opens up the bottom, and just kind of an FYI, everything down here in the blue is happening on your local computer. The only time it goes up to the server to be shared with everybody is once you hit the save button in here. So once I hit the save button, then whatever I put in here is going to be moved up into the server. So it's a very efficient way to do multi-user computing is what it's all about. So I'm going to go up and grab tobacco cessation as my initiative. You can right click and copy. I personally like to use keyboard shortcuts. So Control C is copy. I'll go back over to here, and I'm just going to hit Control V as in Victor to paste it in there. If you're on a Mac, it's Command C and Command V, same thing though. This little checkbox right here determines whether it's an initiative or a service, and not a lot of difference, by the way. Initiatives, again, are future things. When you get to reporting, it's going to say initiative versus service. And when you get down to the activity level, you're going to be putting future dates in versus current dates. But the plans are pretty much the same. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. Now you notice this one up here is grayed out. This was the old tobacco cessation program, let's say. And this hide service checkbox down here is basically an archive feature. If you are an org admin or a manager level user, you can see this. You can see the hidden ones. If you're a normal user, you won't see it at all. The only thing you'd see is this new one we put in there. So that's what the hide service is all about. It's basically an archiving feature. So I've got tobacco cessation as my initiative here. The next thing I'm going to do is grab this first goal, reduce smoking in high schools. Again, Control C, back over to here. Now, I've selected tobacco cessation, this particular tobacco cessation. And so everything that I add in the tabs down here is going to be within tobacco cessation. So I'm going to hit my goals tab. Now, I have to be able to hit either the plus button or this big plus button, this block here, to be able to start entering in here. Because what it does is basically open up a new record for you to do that. So I'm going to hit Control V, reduce smoking in high schools. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Now, at this point in time, because it's an initiative, it's a future program that we're putting in here, we're going to go ahead and leave it at green. If I wanted to change the traffic light at this point in time, let's say, we're already behind schedule, we could change it to a yellow. You can click through the traffic lights here, or you can use the drop down here to do it. Either one works fine. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that at green. Now, anytime you make a change down here, you're going to have to save it. If you don't, and you try to move away from it, it's going to give you a little dialogue that says, hey, do you want to save this or not? I'm going to go ahead and save that again here. Something new that got added last weekend, actually. This notes field, if you use it a lot, and some people, just put lots and lots and lots of pages of notes in there, it does not expand vertically. It will expand horizontally if you expand the window, but that doesn't necessarily help. So what the our client asked for was the ability to have a bigger notes window. So that's what this is. It expands the notes window. When I click on it, you'll see it gives you a big old notes window that you can type into here. In the notes fields, all the notes fields and goals, objectives, and activities, you've got a button up here that puts a date and timestamp in there. You can see that. System admin would normally be Fred Erickson, but in this case, just say added goal 1, and then I save that, and you notice it appears down here as well. This is the date and timestamp as well if you're working within here, but if you need more room typically after a good period of time you've been working with it, then you can just pop over and type into there as well. So reduce smoking in high schools. So that's our goal. Let's go back now and grab our first SMART objective down here, reduce smoking at Wayne High School. Again, Control C, go back here. So now I'm at the goals here. And I've selected this goal, so I'm going to do the objectives for that goal. So I'll click on that, and I'm going to click here to open it up. Control P. So I have my SMART objective here, reduce smoking Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year. I'll go ahead and save that for now. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is determine what am I measuring. Hold on one second here. I've got a little window popped up. Okay, what am I measuring? So the default is objective percent done, which is generally 0 to 100%. In this case, we're measuring percent reduction. So to change that, I'm going to click on the title here. Pops open here, and I'm just going to change this to percent reduction. My measurement units is still percent. That's just basically what appears after the field here. And then I've got two choices, decimal or percent. Decimal is if you're counting anything that's not a percent, and the percent obviously is a percent. So I'm going to select percent. So you notice it changes to percent reduction, 0%. We'll go ahead and change that to 20% for now and save it. Now, anytime you change this value down here on a traffic light that's not automatically set, which is most of them, by the way, it's going to ask you, do you want to update the traffic light? It's just a dialogue, just asking if you want to do it. In this particular case, I could say, yeah, we're a little bit behind schedule. I'll change it to a yellow, put a note in here, maybe with a date and timestamp on it to do that. The next thing you're going to want to do is assign the objective lead. The objective lead is, again, a program manager, project manager whose target is to get us to this reduction, and he's going to be the person who keeps this up to date here. So I hit the drop down. The reason nobody shows up into this particular little window is because it's the group that's selected. The group is Tobacco 2025 under the training group, and there's nobody assigned to that group. So I just say show all users here. So I'm going to go ahead and just randomly pick somebody here, and you'll see that we now have Trini assigned as the objective lead. Again, I'll save that, and you'll notice they appear up here at the top as well. Again, the other thing we can do is put in notes and comments. So I can put in here, and this would normally say Fred Erickson. I can just say only at 20%, 20% reduction so far. And again, I got to save that. And again, if you forget to save it and you try to move off someplace else, it's going to give you a little dialogue asking if you want to say it. The other thing you can do at the goal, objective, and activity level is put in a data source. So where am I going to go to get the information to update the status of this here? I don't necessarily have a direct place for Wayne High School, so I'm just going to use the CDC website as an example here. So to put in the data source, you're going to click on the source button here. And I'm going to put in CDC. Oops. CDC smoking cessation webpage. And since I don't have that whole link, there is such a thing. There's a whole link here. I'm just going to put in http:// www.cdc.gov, and that'll get me to the CDC website here. Now, you do have to put in the qualifier in here. It can be HTTP for normal website, HTTPS for a secure website. It can be something on your intranet. It can be something on your file servers. Pretty much anything you can put in there. If it's on the internet, you can just go directly enter it. If it's on your file servers or on your intranet, you may have to talk to your IT folks to make sure that the firewall allows that to come through here. And if you have any questions with that, just reach out to me here. So I'll go ahead and say, okay, so you see it shows up CDC smoking cessation webpage, and it's got the link down here. So again, I'll go ahead and save that. Now to get to that particular data source, this is a chain link if you can't see it there. So it's a link button. I'm going to click on that. It's going to open up a new web browser window and take me right to the CDC website. Typically what you're going to do is if you have a website that is the big long URL to get to there, you're going to go up here, you're going to put it in here, you're going to get to it on your web browser, then you're going to copy the link and then paste it into that box that I showed you down there. So this is one of our objectives here. Now let's go down and grab the activities. So I have the three types of activities: project-based, QA, and QM. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the first project-based activity. Control C, go back to here. Now I'm going to go to the activities for this particular objective. Again, click on this to open it. Control V to paste it in there. Create training content and materials. Now, as I mentioned, a project, and this is the selection of the type of activity here. As I mentioned, a project-based activity, you're responsible for coming up for the performance metric. And in this case, we just happen to have it here. And I'll paste that in there, Control V. So once the training content materials are created, we're done. We're going to pick a beginning and ending date. So let's just go 8/1 through 8/31 here. And let's say we're 50% done with the training here. So I'll go ahead and save that. So this is the project-based activity. We've got everything in here. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to assign team members here. So this is the activity. It says we're about 50% complete. If I go to 100% on this particular type of activity, well, let's just do it. 100% done. You'll see that the traffic light turns to gold, indicating that it's successfully completed. Okay, now let's assign some team members. This little pencil icon right here is going to assign your internal team folks here. So I'll go ahead and click on that. Again, we're filtered to the tobacco group. So clicking any one of these black X's clears the filter. So we'll just go ahead and we'll pick the team lead here. So when I click the team lead, it automatically selects them as a team member and by default gives them the email notification. So in the real-time planning emails that go out, this person will have will be getting the email to go back in and update this particular activity. And we'll just go ahead and assign a couple folks as team members. You can have as many team members as you want. You can have one team lead, and you can have multiple email notifications, but typically you're just going to have one person who's the email notification. So you look over here, you see the L is team lead, the T is team member, and the T is team member. The blue around the L is the email notification. So just by looking, you get a good idea of what the team looks like. The other thing you have down here is the ability to add external partners. I'm not sure if you guys have any in there or not. Oh, you do. Okay. So we can go ahead and let's see if we have anybody with contacts in there. No. Okay. Over here, you can have contact people within these partners. For now, we'll just go ahead and we'll pick a couple of them here and we'll save that. So now you see that. Now, if we had assigned contact names in here, you'd have the contact name over here as well. So these are the external partners you're working with on this particular activity. I'll go ahead and save it all again here. And again, here's the expand button for the notes field if you're in there. And this is really notes is where most of the notes are kept. So this is where it'll be here. So that's activity number one. Now let's see. This is the activity wizard. So the little wizard button over here. You can enter the start and beginning date either place. It doesn't matter. But there's a couple of options on data entry type. Our default is 0 to 100%, as you can see over here. But there might be a point in time where you're going to do all this training content in 1 week and you want to go in Friday and just say, I'm done. So you might check the complete option down here. And we save that. So you'll notice now that the complete is turned into a checkbox. Because it's 100%, it's checked. If it was anything less than 100%, it would be unchecked. So if I uncheck it, it's going to take it to 0%. If I check it, it's going to be 100%. So that's one of the options in here. The other option is yes, no. Basically, what that's saying is if you have an activity that is in the form of a question, have you completed the training content? You can say yes or no. Same kind of thing in there. So that is the different options on this particular type of activity. Okay, so let's go ahead and enter the next activity. So I'm hit the plus button here and open it up. Let's go back and grab the activity here. We're going to provide the 9 training sessions. Control C, back over to here, Control V. Okay, so this is a QA activity. So I'm going to hit the drop down, select QA. Automatically opens the wizard for us here. Here's that frequency we were talking about. If you look at it, you can see it goes anywhere from weekly up to every 5 years. I'm going to go ahead and select monthly because we're doing training sessions on a monthly basis. Let's go ahead and set my beginning date. I can either, by the way, I can type in or I can select with a little drop down, either one. I'll come back to this timeline checkbox in a bit here. But my green value we know is 9 or more. So I'm going to put 9 in there. You don't have to put a yellow in because it's going to calculate it for you. And again, we'll just use the example of 6 as our red value. So now my metric type is going to be training sessions completed. So this is all the information I need to build my performance metric. So it's going to build your performance metric. So training sessions completed, measured monthly, our green, yellow, and red values. And you can see down here the cycle start date. And obviously you would go in and put in your activity. We won't go through that again, but put in your activity leaders, team members, external partners if you have them in there. In this particular case, let's say we do 8. And I click off of that. You'll notice the traffic light turns yellow. Remember we said if it was 7 or 8, the light's going to be yellow. And I'll go ahead and save this. Okay, so now we have the yellow traffic light. The next time I save this, so let's say I'm at the end of the month and I'm only doing 8 this month, and I hit the save button here. It's going to say, do you want to update the cycle start date? And you got some choices. No is going to leave it at the same, obviously. Current means put today's date would be what, 8/8 in there, or you can say select. If I say select, it's going to give me the next month beginning date, in this case 8/1 to 9/1. So I'll just go ahead and say select that, and you'll see the start date moves to 9/1. So now I'm going to be entering data for the next month as I'm moving forward in here. There are some other options as we saw on here. Again, the timeline I'm going to come back to here. The one other option that is not real obvious here is greater than or equal to. Some things are better when they're less. Again, the example is a golf score. Less is better. So what I can do is flip this around. If I click on here, it says less than or equal to, let's say 3 is green and greater than or equal to 6 is red. So I can flip that around. So you just have that option. If it's something that's, less infections or less whatever it happens to be, you can put it in that way and the traffic light will set automatically for you. I flip it back to greater and go back here to 9 and 6 and then save that and save that again. No, I don't want to move it ahead this time. So that's our QA activity and pretty much all the options on there. Let's go back and grab our quantitative measurement activity. Contact all 20 tobacco vendors, Control C. Go back to here, again, hit the plus button to open up the bottom, Control V. So contact all 20 tobacco vendors. Again, the drop down, we're going to call it a QM activity. Beginning and ending dates, so let's use the same dates we've been using, 8/1 to 8/31. In here, my target number, as you can see, is 20. Decimal or dollars. Decimal is anything you're counting other than dollars, if that makes sense. And then dollars basically gives you a dollar sign and a couple of decimal points. This is the type of activity you'll use if you're going to be tracking grant dollars, if you're tracking budget dollars, or anything else related to dollars, you can use this activity. And it's very handy because you can have multiple activities within an objective that have different dollar values and things along that line. My metric type in this case is tobacco vendors contacted. Now I got a couple options down here. We'll start out with the default. Enter a value to add to total. I hit save. Yes. Somebody have a question? Okay. Okay. Dollar value to add to total. So you see down here we have add to. So I put in here we did 5 this week, and it rolls it up to the actual total here and calculates to be 25% done. And I go ahead and save that. And then maybe the next week I go in and do another 5. And so we're at 10 and it's calculated to be 50% done. So that's what the add to total does. And again, now it's going to say, hey, is your traffic light correct based on the value you entered in here? And you could say, yeah, I'm still moving towards this month and I'm doing good. So I'm going to leave it at green. Or I could say, no, I got behind schedule for some reason, mark it as yellow, whatever you want to do with it. Okay, the other option that you saw on there was enter a new total value. And that's kind of the same thing we talked about before. It moved the running total up to the editable field here now. And this is, I'm going to go in and 1 week, I'm going to go out and contact all these vendors. I want to go in at the end of the week and just put in that we did 20 contacts here and calculates to be 100% done, and away we go. In this case, I might want to move the traffic light to gold when I got to 100% done in here. Now, there is one other option in here, and it's kind of a hidden thing here. You don't have to have a target number. We do what we call zero target. Now, if I put a zero target in there, there's no denominator to calculate percent done. But if you have something that you're counting, as you're going through the month and you don't have a target number, you just want to know how many vaccinations did we do or how many medications did we distribute, and you just want to know at the end of the month how many you did. That's what this is all about. And you got the two options of either add to total or enter a total value down here. So I could go in here and say, we did another 5, and it's going to add to the total down there. So that's the zero target, again, just for counting things as you go through the month here. So let's go ahead and put this back to 20. And obviously it calculated to be 125% done. So those are the 3 activities that we believe will get us to our objective here. So let's go back and look at those in the pyramid. Okay. So it was Tobacco 2025 group. Tobacco cessation was our initiative. Our goal was to reduce smoking in high schools. Our SMART objective was reduce smoking at Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year. And just FYI, SMART objectives are where most people have issues when we're doing the homework or they're creating plans, is make sure it's something very specific, something you can measure, and there's a given time frame to do it in here. And then the steps we're going to go through to get there. Now, as I mentioned, there's going to be homework here. And I'm going to walk you real simply through what I would like you guys to do here. So you're going to go back to you're going to log in, you're going to go to your group screen, you're going to go to the training group here. You're going to go to services or initiatives, and you can see that a bunch of folks did this last year, so they put in these. What I'm going to ask you to do is hit the plus button and enter whatever service you want. Look at some of these. There's all kinds of cool stuff in here. Potty train Carlos, I like that one. Get more fit, reading a book, how to tie a tie, change my car oil. So anything you want to do. Typically, there's going to be one service or initiative, one goal, one SMART objective. And again, this is where people have the problem is SMART objectives. And then if you can think of a way to use all 3 types of activities, please do. If not, just come up with an activity or 2 to do it. So again, hit the plus button, enter it in here, and then build out your plan through here. So let's go look at an example here. Okay, you're going to log in, select the groups tab. You're going to go to the training group, select services or initiatives tab, hit the plus button, add your service or initiative. So I'm going to say I'm going to create an initiative for a birthday party for my son, Billy. And my goal is to have the best birthday party ever. And my SMART objective is by the end of January, select an appropriate venue for the party. And one of my activities might be check with neighbors for venue suggestions. My other activity might be check Yelp for potential venues. So this is just an idea of what you could do, and make it as fun as you want to do, or if you want to make it business related, that's just fine as well. But put it into the into the training group and under the services or initiatives in there. And if you would, put your initials after it, so when we go looking at them, it's easy to figure out who's done what. But our plan will be to review everybody's plan, give you a little feedback, a little critique if necessary, and then go on. After you complete the next session here, we're going to print up a beautiful, nice certificate for your wall and send it out to you that says basically you're an operational planning expert. So that was it for today. Anybody have any questions? Any questions about the homework? Okay, well, if there's no questions, I think we're scheduled for next week to do the review sometime. So if you guys would please take a few minutes, and it takes 5 minutes to do that, but it does give you the experience of going in there and actually clicking the buttons and doing everything that you can do. And you can't hurt anything in the training group, so feel free to work around in there. And then we will talk to you and go through our review next week or whenever we have the next session scheduled. And if you do have any questions, you have any problems, here's my contact information. Please always feel free to reach out to me. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Fred.
Okay, you're welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.